I may not ever get the answers as to why I was supposed to go through what I went through, but I know that I'm here today and I remain unbroken.
It's never going to be over. The reason why, because it's tormenting my life and it's my past. You understand?
False sexual assault allegations cause an innocent person and their loved ones immense harm, psychologically, financially, and physically. Here are 3 of the worst false sexual assault conviction cases in the U.S. history. Gregory Counts and Van Dyke Perry. In 1991, a woman reported to the police that she had been abducted and raped by 3 men. They had driven her to Central Park, where she was repeatedly raped and sodomized inside and outside a brown car. She said the attackers were drug dealers who were trying to find her boyfriend to collect money he owed them. She identified Van Dyke Perry, Gregory Counts, and a 3rd man as her attackers. Counts was 19 and Perry was 21 when they were accused of sexually assaulting the woman. The 3rd alleged attacker was never arrested. Semen was found in the woman's underwear, which she said she put back on after the rape, but DNA testing excluded both Perry and Counts as the source. After having been informed of the test results, she then claimed she had unprotected sex with her boyfriend just before being abducted and raped, although she had told the doctor at the hospital that they used condoms. The boyfriend's DNA never got tested. She said they punched her so hard her eye swelled, but a doctor who examined found no physical evidence to support her claim and that there were no signs of sexual trauma. She told the doctor at the hospital that she was raped in Morningside Park, but told the police that the attacks occurred in Central Park. On the same day the woman reported that she was raped, her boyfriend was arrested for shooting Perry in the foot. The shooting had occurred a few months earlier after Perry, Counts, and the 3rd man beat up the boyfriend for a drug debt. The charges against the boyfriend for shooting Perry was eventually dismissed. Counts contacted the Innocence Project when he was in prison, and the Innocence Project began to take a new look at his case. Perry was released in 2001 after nearly 11 years in prison, and Counts was released in August 2017 after 26 years. Perry refused to register as a sex offender when he got out of prison because he didn't want to register for something he didn't do, and he was charged and pled guilty on 2 occasions. In one case, he was sentenced to 14 days in jail, and in the other, he was sentenced to 6 months in jail. In 2018, the 3rd man was finally located, and he said he never raped anyone and that he had spent much of his life fearful of being arrested for a crime he did not commit. The brown car that the woman said was used to kidnap her belonged to him, and was inoperable at the time. In April 2018, after new DNA tests had identified that the sperm in the accuser's underwear belonged to a man who passed away in 2011, the woman admitted that the rape had never happened. She recanted her testimony and said her boyfriend had forced her to falsely accuse Perry and Counts to avoid paying his debt.
Complainant now admits that her boyfriend forced her to lie and falsely claim these men sexually assaulted her. Boyfriend was trying to avoid having to pay a debt to these 2 men.
The woman and her boyfriend didn't face any charges because the statute of limitations has expired. Seema Saifi, a senior staff attorney with the Innocence Project, said in a statement, "Like so many other cases that have come to light in recent years, these young black men were aggressively prosecuted and given lengthy prison sentences with very little care for finding the truth." William McCaffrey. In September 2006, after a long night of heavy drinking at the Umbrella Lounge in Inwood, Bryony Gonzalez had words with friends and impulsively took a ride with 3 men, including William McCaffrey, to an after-hours club. She was extremely drunk and became scared and hysterical during the ride, prompting the men to drive her back to her friends. But upon returning to her friends, she said she was viciously gang raped by the 3 men. Her testimony sent William McCaffrey to jail despite a lack of DNA evidence linking him to the crime. She had bruises and bite marks on her shoulder, but there was no other physical evidence of rape. McCaffrey was convicted of rape, kidnapping, felony assault, unlawful imprisonment, and criminal possession of a weapon in October 2006. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. In 2008, DNA testing showed that saliva from the bite marks on the supposed victim came from a female. Nonetheless, the district attorney refused to support McCaffrey's request to vacate his conviction. In 2009, on the advice of her priest, Peguero confessed that she had fabricated the rape story because her friends were angry at her for ditching them to hang out with McCaffrey in his car. She said the bruises and bite marks came from a physical altercation with her friends. During the trial, she said that she was filled with remorse for sending an innocent man to prison. She told the judge, "I question myself every day as to how I could have done this." Peguero was sentenced up to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to perjury for framing McCaffrey. In October 2012, McCaffrey settled a claim filed with the New York Court of Claims for $425,000. He also filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the New York Police Department and agreed to a $700,000 settlement in January 2015. McCaffrey was sadly diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and died on Thanksgiving Day in 2018. Like so many others whose lives ruined by the miscarriages of justice, he never recovered from his wrongful conviction. Brian Banks. Brian Banks was 11th in the nation as a linebacker when he played for Polytechnic High School in Long Beach, California. He was playing alongside future NFL stars Deshaun Jackson, Darnell Bing, Winston Justice and Mercedes Lewis. Banks had given a verbal commitment to USC where he was set to play on a full scholarship. But in the summer of 2002, Brian Banks' life changed forever when his classmate Juanetta Gibson falsely accused him of raping her in an empty stairwell on campus. Banks' DNA was not found on the accuser or her clothing, but his attorney suggested that he plead out, assuring him that after 90 days, the counselors and psychologists would give him a favorable report, and the judge would agree to give him probation. If Brian Banks didn't take the deal, it was likely that he would have faced a potential sentence of 41 years to life in prison if found guilty. He wasn't allowed to speak to his mother and had only 10 minutes to make the decision. At the age of 16, Banks believed the plea deal was the less risky choice. He was tried as an adult and went to prison for nearly 6 years and was released on parole with an ankle monitor. He was also required to register as a sex offender. Gibson's family filed a lawsuit against the Long Beach Unified School District alleging inadequate security. The suit was settled for $1.5 million, split evenly between the family and their attorney. In 2011, Gibson sent a message to Banks on Facebook. She agreed to meet and during a videotaped interview admitted that there was no rape. She and Banks had kissed, hugged and fondled, but had not engaged in sex, she said. She was afraid of coming forward because of the thought her family might have to give back the $750,000 they received in the lawsuit. On May 24, 2012, the conviction was set aside and the charges against Banks were dismissed. In 2013, the Long Beach Unified School District won a $2.6 million default judgment against Gibson. In June 2015, the state of California awarded Banks $142,000 in compensation.